Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed that a bite or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launcher. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host,
Rodney Shortridge,
and co-host, Robin Dalton.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by going to blogtalkradio.com/Within the Chaos, or listen in by phone. You can dial 323-870-4197, and you can also call in to ask questions to our guests at the same number, 323-870-4197. From deep within the heart of the Appalachians, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you all for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight, along with my fiery redhead co-host, Robin Dalton.
Hey, y'all.
And I can't forget my raven black-haired new co-host, Melinda Jackson.
Hey.
Hey. Hey, y'all. Well, tonight, I don't know why I had that, but sorry. But tonight, our guest is Michele Marcum. Michele is a life coach, a Reiki practitioner, and columnist of several newspapers throughout West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky, in addition to hosting a weekly radio show, Life Speaks, on the air radio. Her writings have been published in National Medical Journal, the blah, 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 having one of them nights again. The Journal of Health, I know, man, get all tongue-tied. The Journal of Health and Human Experience. She is with us tonight to discuss her book, Reign No Evil, which is her true story of transformation after a demon entered her home and attached to her. And you can go to her website at www.reignnoevil.com to check out the book and about Michele. And first off, I want to say our hearts and thoughts go out to the families and the friends of the senseless murderers of the 26 great Texans, ranging from 17 months old to 77 years old. I haven't said much on my show about gun control due to being such a hot topic, especially living in, our area in Southwest Virginia, and everybody got a damn gun. But I strongly do support the Second Amendment. But with that being said, like I've explained to other people before, we got to do something. You don't need military grade weapons and bullets and ammo to go deer hunting and protect your home. If you do, well, you apparently need to go learn how to shoot a gun. I think our leaders need to lead on this, and we need to stand up to the NRA and the Republicans and say no more. These mass murders, if we don't do anything to stop it, they will continue. And there's been enough bloodshed and too many people's lives lost over some bullshit. Well, with that being said, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you get a chance, check out their talk show, and you can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal. I also want to give out a big shout to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post on the shows, about our shows and our guests and so forth, except that one that keeps fucking causing me to get put in Facebook jail. I don't know why. If they don't like me in post, just delete me. Just take me out of the group. Don't put me in Facebook jail. It's hard to get out of there. And also, a new club that I just started, Creative Photo Club, will be hosting a Christmas-themed photo shoot located at Tractor Supply, Pound and Mill, Virginia, starting on December 2nd from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday, December 3rd at 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And each weekend up to December 19th, couples, individuals, family, children, pets. And your pets must be on the leash the entire time at the photo shoot. Purchase Christmas CD photo for $20. This includes 15 to 20 different images, which equals to 3 to 4 different poses. Each purchase, you'll receive a copyright release for your Christmas-themed photos so you can print, email, and use on your social networking sites. So if anybody's got any questions about that, give me a ringy-ding-ding at 276-970-1456. Now, with that being said, Robin, Melinda, how was y'all's week?
Are you sure you're done? Are you okay?
Well, I did all that, buddy. I'm getting better at this. It's taken me long enough. I'm a little slow.
My week's been fine other than freezing. And I just like to throw out there that I'd like to thank Melinda for coming on and start helping me where my work schedule's so crazy, and for picking up my slack. I do appreciate it. And love you guys. And thank you for being so patient with me. But I'm here tonight, so let's have a good time.
You're welcome, girl.
So how's your week?
My week was good, but I'm with her. I want my summer back.
Yeah, me too. Well, enough of us bullshit. Let's see if we can get Michele on here before she leaves us and says, "I'm tired of this. I didn't come on here to listen to them talk." So it's my honor to welcome our special guest, Michele Marcum. And hello, Michele, and I hope you're there. Thank you for joining us tonight, because most people hang up and run now.
No, I'm up and wide awake.
Okay. She's like, I got arrested for this.
Right. The only thing that would make me run right now is if I saw that demon that I saw in my mirror. Then maybe I would be on the run.
If you do that, take a picture. I want to see that.
Yeah. Well, that was quite frightening.
Well, I bet it was. Well, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what started you on this amazing, life journey to write Reign No Evil and the events that, this book is based on? I know that's a loaded question, but hey, I will jump in and we'll add to it somewhere around the line.
Okay. Well, loaded questions, loaded guns, that seems to be the hot topic tonight. I absolutely love sharing this story because it was a very phenomenal experience that I had. I was teaching high school in the area of the Mothman in West Virginia, which is Mason County. I was teaching there at high school. My husband was a police officer, and we had lived in a house for 8 years before having any issues of the paranormal sort. And it all was the result of a prayer. And I know that sounds odd, but it nevertheless was how it went down. I was in a very dysfunctional relationship with my husband, who we'd been married for several years. We had 2 boys who were living in the house with us. They were 7 and 12 years old at the time. And like I said, we had lived in the house for 8 years and not had anything creepy or spooky happen until 3 days after I said a prayer. Now, I didn't realize all this at the time. I didn't realize this even corresponded to my prayer. But what happened was there was water spraying inside of our home. It started with a drip on my older son's head. And before the night was over, water was literally spraying across the room, the living room. My husband was home. We hopped up. First, we thought the kids were just goofing off. Wasn't typical of them to quite do something like put water through the house like that, though. But they were typical boys. This just kept going on for weeks. Eventually, it was in every room of the house. It would spray, and you would hear it come past you. You would know that it came from behind you. You turn around, and there was nothing there that was out of the norm. There was no water pipe sticking through the wall or anything like that where you would assume there had to be in order to have the kind of pressure that we were experiencing. So the water would literally spray across the room. It would hit the wall and run down the wall. So you could see the water. You could feel it. It was water. However, we didn't know where it was coming from. So it was like, okay, what's going on here? It was already a very chaotic time in our marriage. We were there a long time, and we were trying to make our marriage work, but it wasn't working. And so there was a lot of personal factors in this book. That's why I changed the names. In the book, I changed the locations other than to say West Virginia, because that was accurate. But over the course of 2 weeks, going on, we would sleep at night, and everything at night was quiet, and it was dry, and we would wake up to a dry house. But when we woke up and would start our day, the water would start, and there would not even be anybody around. You would be standing in a room by ourselves. I would be standing in a room by myself, or sometimes people would come over, but there was nobody there doing it. We would all experience this. So we had probably upwards of 50 to 60 people through our house over the course of 2 weeks trying to find this leak, including professional people, people that the insurance company had sent. We had people who were just knew us and were contractors, friends, family. We had heating and cooling people, the water company, numerous contractors and specialists in this field of water. And eventually, after this 2 weeks, we started experiencing some other paranormal events, eyeballs floating in the house, hands pressed through the wall. I saw a demon in my mirror, which is what I was alluding to earlier, and that was by far the most frightening experience I've ever had, and still to this day, not just during that period. Yeah, I would guess so.
it was extremely frightening. But through all of that, I was praying at school one day on planning, and I was praying again, and just, God, why is all this happening? I feel like this is it's just too much. What's going on? And I was given the revelation that there was a demon in the house, and that there wasn't anything I could do about it myself. It was, it was beyond my power to fix this. And the prayer that kickstarted all this, then it all started coming together for me. Oh my gosh, that's what this is. This is not just a water leak. That's why we can't find a water leak, because it's not a water leak. And that's what's going on. And at that point, I knew it without a doubt. It wasn't like I stood there and just tried to figure out what was going on myself, or tried to analyze it, or tried to think it through. It was literally, I heard God's voice, and he told me that there was a demon in the house. So I knew it. There was not a doubt. And now I had to go home and tell my husband, who I knew was going to think I was crazy. Well, I corresponded it to the prayer. The prayer that kickstarted all of this was said in the shower, and it was, God, you have to prove to me you're real, or I'm done talking to you. I'm done trying to make my marriage work. I'm done. So unless I know that there's a higher power that hears me, and I say God in whatever context you want to take that as, that's how I prayed. And when I was given the revelation later, of course, it all came together. It made more sense to me, even though it didn't practically make sense that water could spray literally from nowhere. But we did eventually see it. My sister was over one evening, and several other people, and we saw it. Finally, it was the first time that we had seen where it came from. So imagine an invisible water balloon. In midair. You don't see this water balloon, but it's there, okay? And it has the power of a squirt gun, one of those super-duper squirt guns that the kids can shoot for a block, that one of those. And that is what it was like. It literally sprayed from midair. Water came from midair, and it shot across the room, and it shot my sister's pant leg. She went running off, and after that, I had to bribe her with a lot of home goods, home baked goods, to get her to come back to my house. But in all seriousness, it really was a phenomenal experience. It definitely, that, along with many other things we can get into, as far as the energy work and what happened to me personally. This all changed my life, and that's why I share this story, because I'm passionate about not just telling people that this crazy thing happened to me, which it did, and to my family, but it changed my life because it had me look at life differently. I'm not afraid to die anymore. I realize that our energy goes on. I think that people a lot of times are just scared to death of death and what happens to us after here. And that was one of the many things that I look at differently now. And so I just have to share the story because it did literally change my life. I'm much happier now.
When you said you saw demon in the mirror, I was just wondering exactly, what did it look like? I mean, did it look human, or could you tell distinctively it was a demon?
Okay, that's a good question, and I describe, of course, all of it in detail in the book. It's called Rain No Evil, and it's rain like water, rain no evil. But the demon in the mirror was an out-of-body experience for me. I'd never had one that I'm aware of until that point. And this actually happened about 2 or 3 weeks before the water started. So this demon that I saw in the mirror was my face, and so I'm staring at my face in the mirror, yet it was also, I was looking into the eyes of a demon. So if you can imagine, it was superimposed over my face. That's how it looked. I'm looking into my eyes, but while I'm looking in my eyes, something else was looking back at me. And I knew it was a demon. I had actually had to look up into the mirror because there were entities around me. I was sitting on a stool in front of my dresser, And this was all, like I said, out of body, because I was actually in bed. Okay, I'd actually went to bed, and I had an out-of-body experience. And I've had people say, well, how do you know it wasn't a dream? Well, if you ever have one, you'll know it wasn't a dream. You have to experience it, I guess, to understand that it was more real than any dream you'll ever have. But at any rate, yes, it absolutely scared me to death, because I was sitting on a stool. There were these white entities around me that I could see out of my peripheral vision. And I knew that they were angels, and I knew I had to do what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to look up into my mirror. And I knew, this was all telepathic from them to me, that I was going to see something that was absolutely going to frighten me to death. And I knew that. And yet I had to do it. So I look up, I see this demon in the mirror, my face, the demon's face fused together, and it was just for seconds. My face was scarred, very charcoal, like it had been carved like a pumpkin, deep, deep scars, and they were black. My head was wavy. It tapered over to the left like a candle. If you blow a flame on a candle and it would taper, that's what the top of my head looked like. It didn't look on fire, but it was wavy like that. And in that instant, it was just absolutely so frightening. It was like being pushed off a cliff, and you knew you had to do it, but you didn't want to do it. That's how it felt when I looked up. And then I was just so frightened, I looked over, I saw myself in the bed, and I crashed back into my body. That's the only way I can describe that. And it was frightening.
Wow.
So, yeah, those attachments, I didn't realize I had attachments on me. There was an energy lady, and earlier in the show you mentioned I'm a Reiki practitioner. It is called Reiki. It's REIKI. It's a form of healing that is basically kind of like old-fashioned hands-on healing. If you've been to a Pentecostal church like I was raised, or any sort of hands-on healing that goes back to even biblical times, it's based on that somewhat. It did come in through a Japanese man, but that is the lady who helped me. That is how she helped me. She was a Reiki practitioner, a Reiki master. She's also a homeopathic doctor, and she has just helped me tremendously to be able to do that myself now, and to be able to help others, because I was at her place. I had started seeing her because I was not still happy with my marriage, because after everything happened at the house with the water, we had to have a priest come to the house and actually get into an exorcism. And after that, I still wasn't happy with my marriage. So I ended up going to a life coach, and this life coach was this lady I was telling you about. And she had started the energy. I was laying on a table, and she started the energy, and she works with angels as well. But I had looked up, I heard voices above me. And this is only the second time I was at her place, and I wasn't sure what to experience. So I was kind of dizzy. My head felt like it was spinning off, actually. And I thought, well, maybe this is what it's supposed to feel like. I didn't know. I'd only been there once before. And so I just kind of tried to stay with it. I didn't want to stop her. And I ended up hearing these voices, and they were saying, you shouldn't have come here. I told you shouldn't have come here. And there were numerous ones of them, numerous voices above my head. And I looked up, and, of course, there's only ceiling tile there that I see. I had a seizure at her place, and that is the part that got put in the medical journal, the Journal of Health and Human Experience. That just got printed in March. And then I have another article in there, fall edition, but doesn't have to do particularly with that. But it's very interesting how I didn't realize I had this attachment. I did not know that I had actually numerous attachments to me. I started not to even write about that part, and the reason being I didn't want people to think I was possessed, because it is different. And there's, I think, a stigma with, of course, walking around, well, yeah, I used to be possessed, by the way. How do you bring that up in conversation, or how do you tell people that without them thinking badly of you, or being afraid to catch something from you, or whatever? But then as I wrote the story, and I really started getting into the reason I was writing it, I realized it was about much more than me. This whole thing is much greater than me. Everybody prays and everybody gets answers. And I believe I was getting answers before this happened, but I just wasn't listening. That's why I do the show that I do, the radio show, and I try to, I guess you'd say, teach people how to listen to their lives. But everybody does get answers. My answer, however, the answer with water, the answer to my prayer being so dramatic. This was really biblical proportion type of answers that I was getting. That coupled with the desire to write and the ability to write, not everybody likes to do that, it just went together. And I realized this was one of my life missions, if you will, if you believe we have one, this was mine. And I had to tell the whole story. I had to tell the part about the attachments as well as the paranormal stuff, which is such a hot topic today. That part, I didn't have any backwardness in telling, but the personal part I did at first. And then I realized, no, this whole story has to be out there. I want people to be able to take it for whatever they need to get from it and learn. And that's my objective.
Well, have you had any paranormal experiences when you were younger or before that moment? And also, did you get a sample of the water to be tested to see, what it was or if it was water?
It was water. As far as just looking at it. Now, as far as having it actually analyzed, no, we did not. We did not even think of doing that. We were just getting by day to day. I was actually working full-time teaching. My husband was working as a police officer. Like I mentioned, the boys were in school. It was just hectic. We were every day calling someone, trying to meet them at the house to get figured out what was going on. Several days, it would end up leaving the house because it was across the bedroom and it would soak the bed. And obviously I didn't want to sleep in a wet bed. So we were just trying to get by every day. We didn't even think of doing anything like checking the water. When we did finally have the priest come in, and of course it left, the reason I was having people come to the house and still come even after I knew that there was something in the house was to appease my husband, really, because I told him that there was a spirit in the house. There was an evil spirit in the house, and he's not, he didn't want to have any part of it. He didn't understand that. He was not open to that possibility, so he kept wanting to call people. So, of course, I just, I'll run over and meet him after school, whatever, just to avoid the argument, because I knew at that point. As a matter of fact, one of the people that came was a plumber. No, I take that back. It wasn't the plumber. It was the heating and cooling people. And they came, and one of them left, and right behind the other one, they said, "You've got something paranormal going on here." And I'm like, yeah, I know. Because at that point I knew. There was a group there was a team of 3 people that the insurance company sent. We had to file a claim in order to have them come. But I thought, well, it's better to file a claim and try to get some help here for some experts. And I called them before I knew. Well, by the time they had arranged to come there, at that point I knew what was in the house. Well, they used this device called I don't know what it's called, but it's a little device that measures the dampness back in the wall. And they put it on the wall in the living room, and the one that put it on there looked at the others, and they're all standing there like, I can't believe this. And the water in the house, you could see the steamed up windows. There was water that had ran down where you could see the trails on the wall where, it had dried and had ran. And they didn't know what to do because there was nothing showing, zero dampness. And he said, "This is impossible. You have something paranormal going on here because this is reading absolutely zero." So things like that, as far as things that we did to try to, to fix the problem. But no, we did not have the watering analyzed.
Okay.
The other question you asked me was about when I was growing up. I actually grew up Pentecostal. One experience I remember was when I was about 7 years old. I remember a lady running in the church, and we went to a little town in Middleport, Ohio, actually. And she ran through the church screaming, waving her arms, and they herded all the children down in the basement. And I was at one of those ages where I had to go down with them, and but I was old enough to know to sneak back up. So at any rate, I was always doing something sneaky. That I remember very well because she was screaming and everybody had their hands on her and, you know, taking the oil and anointing her head, trying to hold her down basically because they said she was possessed and her hair was all crazy. And by the time she'd settled down, by the time they got done praying and exercising her, she was calm, sitting there on the bench up front and supposedly, you know, was you know, cleaned of the spirit that was in her, and that's just what I remember from, you know, being a 7 or 8 year old at the time. So a few things like that, a few interesting kind of I guess sounds in the house and kind of things that, like a radio player that was playing one night. We thought Mom was downstairs and she wasn't. She was upstairs and Dad was at work. And he was a police officer, too. So when me and Mom and my sister converged at the top of the stairs and realized that, indeed, none of us were downstairs putting on the record player, that was a little interesting, especially when my dad got there. We realized that the record player was not plugged in. That was one thing from my childhood that stands out. And that was, of course, a very different house than the one that I'm referring to in Reign No Evil. And
right.
I do laugh about this. I know a lot of people say, well, you know, is this book too scary to read? And I'll just tell them, honestly, it is a spooky story, and it is the demon in my mirror definitely was a scary component of the story. But in general, I have a very quirky sense of humor. I'm an Aquarius, and humor got me through that period of time. It's a very serious topic, and I do not take it lightly at all. It is very real. It is very serious, and I've had students tell me at school that because I teach, you know, we dabble with this or we play with the Ouija board here or there, and I'm always telling them, you know, don't think it's just a game, you know, because that all this stuff is real. You call things to you when you do that, and so it is very real. But it is also it's a search for God. It's a search for myself. A search for independence and liberation from evil in very many different ways, not just the evil that was in my house, the evil that had attached to me, and also from a relationship that was just not conducive to happiness. My husband was very verbally abusive, and I didn't see it for years, and that was one of the culminating effects of that whole experience was that I did find that core happiness within myself and was able to leave a relationship that was not promoting happiness for me. So I do like coach ladies now in that. Mm-hmm.
I was raised Pentecostal too, so I know the crazy shit you're talking about. You seen? I've seen all kinds of stuff.
Right. Okay.
Oh gosh, they'd sit there and people screaming and hollering, and one time they told all the kids to leave the church, stuck us outside while there was a lady that was, you know, pretty much what you're describing. All of a sudden, a black dog ran out of the church. They said she was all right. Said they exorcised that demon out of her. Now, how true that is, I don't know, but I know what I saw. But kind of freaked me the hell out. You know, you're 10 years old and you're seeing all that. You're like, what the heck?
Well, do you know who or what the entity or entities was that invaded your home? You know, like, or name or names? Because I know you said there was several.
No, I do not. I do not know. I never asked a name. When Father came to the house, he did not. He actually did 2 house blessings before he brought the body of Christ with him for the exorcism and pray the exorcism prayer. I do not know because I did not ask the demon his name or their names. There were many different things going on in that house besides just a demon. We had a lot of different activity in that house. So there were various things that were seen at various times, like I was telling you, the hands pressed through the wall. My youngest son would see a heartbeat on the wall. he would see demons and just an eyeball floating. We ended up having in locked garages. We had almost every tire on our cars busted at different intervals over a 2 to 3 week period. So, and that's with a police car parked in the driveway in a town where nobody was going to pretty much mess with us, just to be honest with you. So, you know, there were a lot of other things besides the water, but I called it Rain No Evil because that was the predominant force. That was the portal, was the water. And the fact that I said the prayer in the shower, you know, like I said, I did put all this together later. That was the portal. I was in the shower. Water is also in motion, and that's why it came through, I believe, in the way that it did. I can't explain all. I mean, I can relate what happened. I can describe what I felt, what I saw, but I can't explain the intricate ways in which it happened and how, you know, how can water form in midair? I don't know. That I can't answer. I can tell you it did, and you know, people can take that for what it's worth. But you know, I'm not the only one who saw it. Obviously, there were a lot of people who did see it, and we were just average folks living average lives, totally just going to kids' ball games, you know, having kids' birthday parties, and doing our thing. And yeah, there were a lot of good times in our relationship, but overall, it was there was a lot of infidelity, and a lot of times people that are married do love each other, and that doesn't mean that there's not going to be those things creep in. And it happens, and a lot of times it can still work. And if both people are on board, it absolutely can. However, that just didn't happen in my case. So I didn't have someone on board with me who was willing to work on his issues. And had I had that, it would have been very possible to have worked out. I had a book I got a hold of, and it was one of the straws for me in the relationship. It's called The Verbally Abusive Man. Did not go to get it at the library. Didn't know I was in the situation. Just felt called to go to the library, and this is where I tell you, you've got to listen to your gut. So I was supposed to go to the library, and I went and I perused the section on spirituality, because when everything happened at the house, I could not get enough to read on the topic of anything real that anyone said was real. Everything from Hostage to the Devil to 90 Minutes in Heaven and all those type of books. I was reading them. Well, in that section down on the bottom was this book, The Verbally Abusive Man, and it basically grabbed my attention. I ended up taking it home and smuggled it into the bedroom, started reading it, and it was like all these lights went off. Literally, the proverbial awe and light bulb actually shattered over my head. And it was like, this is why you're in the relationship you are. This is why he says that. This is why you feel this way. This is why everything is happening. And I could have written a book. And so I reached out to the lady who wrote that book. Her name is Patricia Evans. I reached out to her about 4 months ago. She answered her phone and talked to me for about an hour. And her book, The Verbally Abusive Relationship, is just about ready to sell 1 million copies. So for someone to talk to me and take the time to talk to me and allow me to thank her for what she did for me personally, in addition to all the other countless people she's helped, it really meant a lot. She actually interviewed with me on my show, Life Speaks, that I do on the air, and that was about last month. And any of the podcasts that I do, like that one, and also many of the other topics that I talk about can be reached on, I have MichelleZirkle.com, lifespeaks.info, because that's the name of the show. But yeah, all of these factors are in there. So somebody said, this would make a great movie, you know? Yeah.
Cool.
Hello, Michelle. My first question tonight is, how did your ex-husband's job affect the unexplained paranormal events in your home, in your opinion?
In the book, I do write about the issues of police work and how, of course, it is a stressful job, not just for the police officer himself, but for the family. The family has to be confidential. There's going to be things said. It happens. It's life. So all that dynamic did factor into the plot of the book. There's a murder going on. Time frames, of course, in the book is condensed, but I was working with a lot of the kids at school that he would arrest, and so we did have a lot of that sort of thing in common with that criminal element, if you will. I believe that there are you have to really protect yourself against outside forces when you're working with people every day. You come home and you say, I'm just drained. Well, when a police officer comes home and is drained, it's because they're working with the absolutely most down and out people that you can practically find, either down and out or the drugs that are involved. The drugs are portals, so these people have attachments on them. They're coming in contact with the police officers. So if they're not protected, then they're going to be able to be very susceptible to getting those attachments themselves. And that's just one of the things I believe could have been a factor in what was going on with him in particular. I do think that they run into the criminal element so much, the child molestation. That really, really tore him up because he really was a basically what everybody would say. He's a good guy, and he was. It didn't mean that he spoke to me the way that it needed to be. It wasn't a respectful situation, but in general sense, he was a good guy, and he did care very much about the children who were molested and women who were being battered. And he took all that on, and I think the officers in general do that. And most all the officers I know are just outstandingly caring people. And I saw that from the inside out. So those conversations that don't hit the headlines, I heard them. So I know that those people are real and they really do care. But can they get attachment? Sure. And I do think that's a very good possibility of some of the stuff that came in. But keep in mind, all of these habits that we get into, like the drugs, even being around people that do drugs or are going to the horror movies, sex, all of those things, if you're not feeling right about it, those are portals where these attachments come in because they are energy and they're feeding off your energy. It reminds me, when more people came to the house, the more people that came, the more this sprayed. And we would laugh about it and say, oh, it seems like it's more. Well, it was definitely more prominent when more people came because there was more energy coming through the door. We're all swirls of energy, inside out, from every single cell in our body. And when other energies that even if you don't see it right now, the only way I'm communicating with you is through some radio wave that's going clear up outer space somewhere and back down within milliseconds. And that energy's there. We don't see it. We don't even think about it. I click on the internet, and I'm expecting that signal to get outer space and boom back to my computer. And if it takes more than a second to do it, I'm ticked because I'm wanting to order something. And we don't think about those things that way every day, but it's the same principle with the energy that's in the air. There's energy there, and we don't see it just like we don't see a radio wave, but it's still there, and it's still feeding off of whatever it can feed off of. It's parasites. And I'm not referring to ghosts. I'm referring to attachments that are spirits that are demonic in nature. And I'm going to use the word demonic. You can say dark forces, evil spirit. It's something negative that is there. It is energy. It is. You can walk in a room after somebody's had an argument, and you can feel it. You can feel it. That's what I'm talking about. That feeling that you get. You can walk in a room. You can tell when you walk in a room. Picked at who's sad. If you're in tune to that, you will pick it up. And it's not just about looking at someone's face. You'll feel it.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, that makes perfect sense because it seems like, because I've heard a lot of people say that, a lot of times if there's a lot of arguing going on or something traumatic going on, that it seems like a lot of activity will happen then. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
yes. And so it's very important to protect yourself. And one of the things I do think differently about now is saging. When I grew up, I never even heard of saging. I probably didn't hear of it until I was maybe in my 20s. And then when I did, it was like, oh, that's that new age stuff. And, that's not, you're not to do that. It's not new age. It's actually old age. It goes, of course, back to the Native Americans, saged, and the priests use not just sage, but frankincense and incense of many kinds to purify space, because that smoke goes into the space and it dissipates, but yet it's still there. When you walk in a room, you can smell it, even if it's dissipated, because it's still there. Just like the spirits we don't always see are there, and the energy that we don't always see is there. So I can't explain it. I just know I experience it. I experience it every day. And everybody experiences something a little different with it. Someone asked me, have you ever seen a ghost? You had all this experience, and I've had many, many more experiences that we haven't even gotten into because it doesn't have anything to do with the book. But yeah, but I've never seen a ghost. So no, other than my grandmother and my grandfather both, who after they passed away, they came and sat on the end of my bed, and it wasn't anything that they said to me. They just came, I think, just to let me know they were okay, and that was in a dream form, and it was very real. But I believe they were there because it was so real.
Right.
But again, that was different than the out-of-body experience that I described earlier, even completely different than that. But, yes, I do believe you have to protect yourself, and I think saging your house. Now I have been not only saging myself, but you can also, there are certain crystals that you can wear, and your intent behind it is what's going to help you. And also, of course, praying. Pray, and I definitely pray to Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is with me often with a blue flash of light. He lets me know he's there. And some people say, well, I don't know my angel's name or my guardian angel's name. You don't have to. I think if they want you to know their name, they're going to let you know their name. You don't need to go to somebody and find out what your angel's name is. You can just, your angel is with you. So all you need to do is just stop, be quiet for a moment. That's kind of unusual in our day and age sometimes, but meditation is one of the best ways not only to calm your mind, but to help you to tune into, if you're wanting to tune into that other world and to tune into your intuition and that other realm. If you're wanting to do that, that's the best way to do it. And 10 or 15 minutes is gold. 10 or 15 minutes is all it takes. But you can tune into your angel and just pray to your angel. And a lot of times you will get a name if you ask. I have not. I do not know. I had someone in the family tell me that they knew my angel's name because they had told them. And I don't doubt that. I just I've never heard a name myself. But I do get some flashes of light, like if I'm praying to Archangel Michael, it's blue. There's a blue flash of light, distinctly blue. And so just things like that. But you can protect yourself, and it all boils down to intent. Do you believe you can protect yourself? If you do, then you can. It's just like the cross. Wearing a cross necklace is wonderful, but if you don't believe that there's any power behind it, there's not. Whatever you tell yourself, if you tell yourself you can, you're right. If you tell yourself you can't, you're right. Whoever said that, it's a famous saying. It's very true, and I tell the kids at school that every day. So your faith behind anything is what makes it real and makes it powerful. And I've cleansed many places now that I know now that I can. And when I tried to do it at my house, it didn't work because I was just not in the place. And I just did not have that caliber of faith. I think there was more fear than faith at the time, and it's not like that anymore. And I'm very thankful.
Well, so I know you've been a teacher for over 20 years. Did you retire, to become a full-time writer, or are you still teaching? What's going on with your teaching?
Yes, actually, I am teaching. I'm teaching in a middle school. I did teach for 20 years in Mason County, home of the Mothman, and I enjoyed teaching, but when this book came out, I needed to wrap it up, and I had gotten remarried, and I ended up, it had been several years. So this book actually, the events in this book actually happened back in 2006, and the book just came out last year. So, it's not like this just happened. My boys are actually 20 and 24 now, and they were 7 and 12 in the book and in real time. So this happened several years ago, back in 2006, and we all became Catholic in 2007 as a result of it. But I do teach now, and I life coach ladies who are in situations similar to mine, particularly with relationship issues. I also do the Reiki healing with people, and enjoy sharing some of my experiences with people so that they can take what they need and take the tools that they need to help them on their spiritual journeys. That's really what I do. I am also writing another book. It's totally not about me, and it's set in Ireland, and it's been a real fun venture for me. I should be finished with it actually within a few months, and it should be out next year. And it involves a lot of similar things to this as far as healing, and so I won't spoil that too much, but it is set in Ireland. I went there a few years ago, and it's magical. Absolutely.
But can you tell us if it's fictional, or is this based on real events as well?
Oh no, the one that I'm writing in Ireland is totally fictional. I've just totally created a story. I wasn't sure that I was even going to write another book. Story happened to me. Rain No Evil happened to me, up and down. I didn't have anything to really fabricate. Only thing I had to do was put it together in words and make the story flow and condense some time frames and things like that. But it happened. So I thought, what am I supposed to do now? Well, I do write for several newspapers. I was out jogging one day, and I started getting some like the lost art of front porch sitting, and I'm getting these words in my head. So started writing some columns for the paper, and they picked it up, and that's how this book came about, the one that I'm writing in Ireland, because I was standing in my dad's bathroom in Nitro, West Virginia, and I had been praying about, okay, am I supposed to write another book? What's it about? What am I doing? But I hadn't been praying that morning. It'd been weeks before, and I'm standing there, and I hear 3 sentences, literally hear 3 sentences, and there's nobody in the house but me. He's at work. And I look up, and I said, really? And it's like, I got it one more time, and I know by now, get your butt in there and get the pen, because you're not going to get it again. So I went in and I wrote it down, and it made no sense. I knew that it was not a column at all. And I ended up, I said, okay, I'm going to write this down. I had an appointment I had to get to. I'll pray about it on my way home. And that's what I did. I prayed about it. This plot started coming to me, and I've got over 30,000 words, and that's just how I roll now. It's there or it's not, and grab it while you can, and go with it. I can't explain how that happened either, but I just know that when something's supposed to happen, it will. And the chill bumps that you get, not everybody gets them, but, listen to your gut. You don't always have to know why. Why do you not like that person? Why does that person, I'm scared of that person, but yet I shouldn't be. Why am I scared of that person? That you don't have to know why. If your gut's telling you to be scared of that person, be scared of the person. Make sure you're not alone with them. I don't know why I'm saying that, but evidently someone out there needs to hear that. And that's another thing. Just go with it. I don't need to plan everything out that I'm going to say. I was just felt like I needed to say that. So someone in the audience needs to hear that. And that's what I truly believe. And that's part of what I have learned as a result of living the life that I've lived the past 5 years.
Well, that's cool. Well,
yeah.
Was the exorcism sanctioned by the church?
Yes, it was, and I'm glad you asked that, because as I've done book signings throughout the country, I have had many people come up to me, and even particularly here at Barnes & Noble in Columbus, and ask me how I was so lucky to get a priest that would come when we weren't Catholic. And I had not even thought of that. Like, you would have to be Catholic in order to get a priest. So I understand, though, that many people have had things that went bump in the night they wanted help with, and the priest would not come because they weren't Catholic. My priest that I had contacted, again, it was a small town. My preacher, actually, who had seen me grow up and who had married me, he is actually the one who told me, you probably need to just call Father so-and-so. And it was a small community, and I actually had another friend of mine refer me to him. So I called, and he got permission from the diocese to do the exorcism. He had had an experience with a baby crying in a wall that he had to help a couple with before, and that's why he was able to get permission to do it. But he didn't come over and do it right away. He did come right away. He came within a day or two of me calling him, but he came and did 2 house blessings. He came and did a house blessing, and it didn't help, and he came back like in the next week and did another blessing, and it didn't help. In other words, he did not jump to conclusions, okay, you've got a demon in the house, let's go get rid of it. That was not his approach. He was very conservative. He wanted to make sure that, that really was what needed done. And when the blessings didn't work, he realized, okay, you're right. There has to be more to it. I'm bringing the body of Christ with me. And he had it in his pocket, and he said nothing can stay in the presence of Christ. And he came and did the exorcism prayer. My husband was not a part of it. He didn't want to have any part of it. It was a couple weeks later when he realized, okay, this is really gone. There was really power there, and I want to go to the Catholic Church. So we all started going, and we all, became confirmed in it. Now, I'm not Catholic any longer, but after we divorced, I stopped going. I do appreciate the fact that there's a lot of power at least with the people that are really living the life that they say that they live, and he was one of those people. That priest was a very holy man, and I know now that it wouldn't have taken a Catholic priest or a minister at all, for that matter, to clear the house. But that's who I contacted, and that's who helped me. Now I know there's many more options to that, but I'm thankful for the whole experience, and even for the whole Catholic experience. It was a very great experience. There was a lot of things I didn't agree with, and some things I did, but there's definitely a power with the Catholic Church that it reminded me a lot of the angelical days growing up Pentecostal. And you won't really, most people wouldn't conjoin the two, Catholic and Pentecostal, together in any context. But there was a very big similarity to me in that they both believed in spirit. And when you said, I have a spirit in my house, too, matter of fact, there were many of the Pentecostals I used to go to church with when I was younger that would see me in the store or whatever. And like I said, this is a small town, so everybody knew we had something in our house. And they would come up to me and say, I'll come and pray it out. And I was like, no, I've already contacted Father, and, he's going to do it, but thank you. They were not afraid, in other words. Most evangelicals and Catholics, at least the fathers, are not as scared, and that's the only word I can think of to use. They're more versed in it, and they're not scared of that word spirit, and they look at spirit, I think, a little differently, as in more real. It's a more real thing to them, and it's something they can control to some degree and have some power over if they have the faith behind it. So that's how that came about.
Okay, I think Melinda's got a question.
What is the process to get a book published, and how long does it take from the writing process to the bookshelf?
I contacted several people. I had sent in several query letters, which is what you call a query letter. It's a letter that you send to agents if you're trying to get an agent to represent you to try to get into a publishing house. Most often, I think even Harry Potter, it was like 150 rejection letters, that J.K. Rowling got. So I sent out several, and it didn't go anywhere. And finally, I hooked up with a gentleman named Michael Noss, and he's from West Virginia. And when I talked to him, I knew he was the one. It was just using that gut instinct that he was the one. And I could have went a lot of places to get things published, but the name Michael would come in a lot with me, my publishers, my publicists, you name it, and a lot of people who've helped me. So there was just a lot of reasons I picked him. And so that process from start to finish. Once you have the book finished, the first step I took with him was I had him do a manuscript review. So he did the manuscript review, read it, said, if you're ready to go. There was a little bit of grammar here and there, but that was it. And we cleaned it up. And so probably, I think that was January of last year, and it came out in June. So it was 6 months to get it actually cleaned up from the time that I had him review it, and then turn it over actually into hard copy form. And he also formatted it for me for Kindle and ebooks. The gentleman that did the book cover, he knew the gentleman. I did not. I was very glad to get him. His name is Courtney Skinner. He's from Virginia, actually. And he was in the movie Evan Almighty. He was the gentleman on the Ark, sketching the Ark in the movie Evan Almighty. And cool. He is the one who did my book cover. And I insisted I wanted something spooky, but not anything red. I didn't want anything to indicate blood, and it turned out really cool. I think with the lady looking down in the water droplets, and so he really got what I wanted and the feel of it. And so to answer your question about if you have it pretty well done, then it would take about 6 months to get it the cover done. And of course now you can go on something called it's not MySpace, CreateSpace, I think, on Amazon, and a lot of people choose to do that themselves. I just didn't because I didn't want to deal with the technical stuff of it and the formatting and all of that. I just I did not want to get into that. So I paid him, and it's about, it was around probably $5,000 to get your initial books. And, of course, then you can order additional ones. And most of the publicity I've done myself, just contacting people. I did have a publicist for a while who represented Eugene Landau Murphy and Homer Hickam. So I got some publicity there that way, and I was on Coast to Coast as a result of some of those connections. And the more that I've been out there, I just got back from New York a few weeks ago doing a show up there. So I just go and I just go wherever the road leads me. Wherever the horse pounds his hooves that direction, that's the way I go.
Cool. Well, I know you're a Concord University graduate, and my daughter is too. She graduated last year. And she wanted me to ask you if you know about Dr. Bridgeford. Said that everyone that knows the doctor has a story about him.
Doctor who?
Bridgeford. Am I saying it right? She kind of wrote it. Yeah.
Bridgeford, is that what you're saying? I have not heard of him. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. She wanted me to ask. I told her, I said, well, she said she's been teaching for 20 years, so I doubt if they'd still be there. They might, but I didn't know. But I thought I'd ask to jump that in there for her.
Now, you mean at Concord, though? This doctor was at Concord?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I graduated from, I graduated from Poca High School in 87, and so I graduated from Concord College, back when it was college, not a university yet, in 91. Right. So, yeah, I don't know them. I do like going down there. I went down and did a book signing down at Homecoming last year, and so I am down that way quite a bit. I've been to the Tamarack a few times, that direction, and, yeah, Concord, and then I went to Marshall Grad School for teaching. No stories about whoever you said. I don't know him.
Well, I kind of figured because, she's 25, and I'm like, I think this lady's probably around my age. And seeing how that you told me when you graduated, that same year I graduated, so I know how old you are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
now you do. Oh, no, I gave it away.
You gave it away, girl. You an 80s kid like me.
Yeah, so I do you guys have some more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
all
right.
Are you ready to go? I mean, if you need to go or something, I mean,
Oh,
hey,
no,
I'm always
I'm not
prepared to
going
go the
anywhere.
long road.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
You got me till it's over.
All right. Until she's like, I ain't answering that. Goodbye, and hangs up. Be like, well, the show is ended.
So, Michele, you've spoken on abuse. What is your opinion on so many of Hollywood's elite coming out talking about their abusers in the past few weeks?
About the abusers on the sexual abuse?
Yes.
Okay. I honestly do not follow too much. I understand who you're asking about. I think it's Weinstein, if I got the name right. As far as what I think about it, I believe that it happens all the time. I just don't follow a lot of the news as far as I don't know specifics on it. I know more and more people keep coming out of the woodshed on that one. I know that last month was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I did do a free lecture at the library, at our local library in Charleston, West Virginia, for ladies to come and get some information on verbal abuse, because that's where when someone picks you up and slams you against the wall, yeah, that's abuse, but that person that it's happening to doesn't always see it that way. And yes, everyone else sees it, but as I'm sure you're aware of, it's very difficult for that person to get out of the mindset that they didn't do something to deserve it. So, but it's not nearly as physically, of course, damaging to be in a verbally abusive relationship. Most of the physical abuse starts with the verbal. The verbal can escalate to the physical, but it doesn't always, as in my case. It never did. And, of course, part of that is because you have someone who is in the public eye. They're not going to have their wife running around that way. You know what I'm saying? I think it does depend on the person. And there's different levels of abuse as far as the verbal abuse. And a lot of people who are in those situations, they don't see it. So that's why I try to educate as much as I can from my personal experience and what I've studied on it to where, the ladies can understand and see for themselves that it is actually, it is abuse. And they have to, I never wanted to see myself as a victim. That was the last thing I wanted to see myself as. I would have never thought of myself as a victim of anything other than if someone had snatched my purse, maybe a victim of purse snatching. But to think of myself as a victim, that was the first revelation. Oh, my gosh, okay, that doesn't feel very good. I mean, I like to think I was fairly intelligent and had it together, and I was teaching, and, I was a mother, and I had a fairly good life. But yet I realized that unhappiness, that deep-seated unhappiness within me was caused by me. He did not cause that. I caused that by allowing him, and I think throughout our lives there's various people that will talk to us however we will allow ourselves to be talked to. And once it starts, it's like gaining weight or losing weight. It happens a little bit at a time. And that's what had happened with our relationship. Slowly, more and more, the jokes weren't jokes anymore. They were actually jabs. And that's what I really focus more of my educational, venue on, is that sort of abuse.
Well, do you think it's because of the product of the culture that men are raised in, that we have to be strong and tough and badasses, and even though deep down we have, moments where we need to talk, we need to cry, but we're taught not to. We're taught not to show emotions, and then the people we care about, we let it out on them.
Yes, I do. I do believe the way you're raised can definitely be, if you're father or your mother, for that matter. Usually with the man, it's the father, but it can be the mother. I've seen that firsthand. The mother can say something to the boy, suck it up, be tough, whatever. Well, okay, but you say that once in a while, it's not going to be as impactful on that child. But if you say that every day to a boy, that boy thinks that he's got to be that way. I can't cry when I hurt my knee because mom or dad telling me not to, and I'm not supposed to be that way. It's like when my one of my boys wanted to go down the aisle that had the pink hair dryers. Well, you can't do that. Why not? Okay, you get into that. So it is, like you said, it's a very touchy situation to keep telling a boy over and over again that, and of course it happens to women too, and that's where they get tough and they can't show their emotions because they have to be strong, they have to be tough, and they can't let a man see that their weakness because that would be too soft. Well, you can be soft. You can be soft, on the outside and let people in, but that doesn't mean that you're not strong. The strongest people I know, and I'm not just saying this because it's been written in a book somewhere. The strongest people I know are people I can sit with and that can cry on my shoulder just as easily as I can cry on theirs. And I mean, that goes for men or women. So I admire those people who can sit there and have a meltdown and who I know they're as tough as shit, that they're going to be there for you, that they would beat somebody's ass for you, literally, as well as figuratively, and that they still can sit there and say, I've just got to, like you said, I've just got to talk. And, and I know, again, this is coming back to personal. I do try to keep it out of that. But, if someone can't do that, and my husband could not do that, could not break down that, and that goes to what profession you're in, too, I think, a lot of times. And in my case, it was a police officer. So you have the mentality as a police officer that you have to. They have to go out. They have to feel that they are in charge because they are. If they don't go out there and feel they're in charge, they're going to get hurt, and then other people are going to get hurt. So yeah, you have to have some of that, but there has to be a balance. And I think that's what comes back to your question. There has to be a balance of authority and respect, having that side of, and it is there inside, but they usually, so someone comes in and they've been sexually abused, okay, definitely there would be that soft side. They're like, but that police officer is looking at that child that's been abused, and they're oh, that's so sad. But then as soon as that, they're turning around, they're, okay, who did this? Because I'm going to kick their ass. Their head's going in the commode or whatever needs to happen. They're going to pay for this, okay? And society secretly, if not outright, is saying, by God, yes, I don't care about the rules now because that was my child or whatever, and I want that person taken out. You see what I mean? So I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the person's job does matter, and it does factor in, because when you're doing that persona all day of badass, then it's hard to be not badass,
right?
And not be the authority figure. Mm-hmm.
Well, on the other hand,
Robin, wait a minute, we got a caller. Let me see if they got a question.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air within the chaos. So we're speaking with Michele. You have a question? Hello. I guess not. Oh, well.
Okay.
I guess they got a little shy. It's all right. It's all right, people.
Either that or it was the ghost calling,
Well, it's a 304 number. They're up in your neck of the woods. You keep them up there. It's a ghost.
Kind of like I wanted to, ask you on the flip side of that, as far as like your ex's job and all that. How do you, the victims of the abuse, whether it's been something traumatic they went through or years of stuff, years of abuse, how do you feel that plays on, if a victim does not deal with it and does not get help for this, do you think that also leaves them open for these evil spirits and entities to attach to them?
Because they're oppressed. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Yes. Yes, because they are so beaten down. When you feel disempowered in any way, and especially when you're disempowered for a long period of time, and I don't mean this, I had a bad day, I mean this like what you're talking about, a lifetime or years at the very least of continual just beat down. These women, and I say women in general, obviously there are men included in that, but they do feel very disempowered. And when you take the power away from yourself and you basically hand your self-worth over to another human being, when you do that, you are giving them the power to do with your mind whatever they want. And that leaves you wide open and susceptible to whatever entities want to come in. So, yes, I do believe that does factor into the attachments that you can get. No one's immune. No one is immune from attachments, and that includes the priest, the pope. No one is immune. I mean, Jesus wasn't immune. And all the holy masters, they weren't immune either to attachments or to temptations or to any of this. That's why they had to have protection, and that's why they had to have help in the other realms. And that's why it's important to pray and to empower yourself. And that includes the women who are in those situations and most of the time they don't see it. And until they see it, they cannot fix it. Until I saw it, I was married for 22 years before I saw. And I was, like I said, I like to think I was fairly intelligent. Boy, was it a blow to my ego when I realized that I wasn't. I wasn't as intelligent as I thought I was. But after I got over the feeling stupid part, and oh my God, all these years, like for instance, he would come up and after he'd say something really, really hateful to me or nasty or yell or whatever, sometimes he would come up behind me and you kiss me on the neck. Okay, well, for years, I would think that meant he was sorry. Would you not? Now, that was my interpretation of what I thought. Okay, he's sorry. He kissed me on the neck, okay, so we're good. Well, after reading this book, that happened. And I turned around into him, so I'm facing him, chest to chest. I put my hand up to his chest, and I stepped back, okay? And then I said, if you would like to apologize, I'm listening. Oh, my God. He looked at me like I had just knocked him in the head with a bat. He said, apologize for what? Oh, my God. Then I felt like I'd been hit by the bat. I'm thinking, oh, my God, because all those other times, and I mean numerous other times, went flashing through my head like a card deck. And I thought, holy cow, all those times that I thought he meant he was sorry just because he kissed me on the neck, and I interpreted it that way. See, I started thinking this way. Actually, what I'm saying to you, I was thinking that way because I had read this book. So my whole pattern of thinking started changing. And that's the key to everything, actually, is the way that you think. But when I realized that was not the case, oh, wow. I thought, okay, I realize now that I need to make sure what he means isn't necessarily what I'm thinking he's meaning. So from there, there was a verbal abuse contract that was signed. It's actually at the end of that Verbally Abusive Man book by Patricia Evans. And there are various sentences that you put in there. You fill in your own. Of course, it has to be tailored to you and what's going on in your specific situation, what words are specifically being said back and forth. And once that was signed, it still wasn't weeks. And he just said, I can't, you might as well cut out my tongue. That was his exact words. I can't do this. You can't change me. You can't make me change. And at that point, I realized, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. I can't. The only person I can change is me. So let's get let's get the change rolling. And there were already numerous changes that had started anyway with everything that happened in the house. And I mean it was a 4-year period of time from the time that the water came in and that prayer right before it to me actually leaving. About a 4-year period of time. In the book, I condensed the time frame greatly because we have to, to keep the reader engaged. But it actually was a little bit over 4 years.
Wow.
So, Michele, what advice would you give someone that may be having entities dealing with it in their life or in their home?
With them personally attached to them, or just like something in the house?
Yes. What kind of steps? I mean,
either way, you mean it will. I think there's two different questions, I guess. There, the one with the house. If you think that there's something in the house, you're going to know. A lot of people will tell me they'll see like their ghost dog of the dog that they used to have that died. Well, the dog's not moved on, and it maybe doesn't bother them. They're like, I don't care that it's there. I've had, you wouldn't believe the people that I've had come up to me and say that they've, Aunt so-and-so's at the house, or even they're at a house and they don't even know who the people are, but there's people there, and they see them. Okay, so they see these ghosts, which are spirits, and they don't care that they're there. And they're like, I don't care. So I'm like, okay, but really, for that person, it'd be better for them to move on. It's natural for them to move on towards the light. But if you want them there, that's your baby. But then you're talking about something completely different when you're talking about actually something evil in the house. So you will know that there's something evil if it's something that's trying to hurt you, or you see the demon. Like in our case, we saw demons. You could walk in our house and even at the time, I didn't know that was necessarily an evil feeling, but you could feel something. Like you'd walk in and it was just like electric in the air, like something wasn't right. The dog would just start barking. And that was one of the things actually that Father asked me was, and we didn't have him in the house all the time. He was an outside dog, but we would bring him in sometimes. And he would just start barking. And he did do it a lot around me, I have to say. And it would always startle me because we'd just be fine. And he wouldn't even bark if somebody pulled in the driveway. So when he barked at me, it would just startle me. So things like that you'll know. And those were, of course, the attachments to me that I would assume he was picking up. I don't know. Maybe he was picking up something in the house too. But dogs barking. I've had students tell me like knives went flying through the kitchen. If knives or something like that's flying through your kitchen, someone's trying to hurt you. Or if you see these entities. So the first thing I would do is first of all, definitely get sage. But again, only if you feel comfortable. If you don't, get your preacher. See if your preacher will come and pray. Now, my preacher didn't even come pray with me, but he was not comfortable doing that. So it wouldn't have helped. You need to find someone who's comfortable doing it, whether it's, it might just be, ask around in the community. There are a lot of what you call New Age stores, and they do have people there was a house cleaner lady in Parkersburg, West Virginia I had contacted before I went to my energy lady in Charleston. So I didn't know anything about this, but when someone had suggested the priest, they suggested this this house cleaner who was in the area, and I did call her, but I wasn't comfortable. But there are those people who will come and do that for you. That's what I'd suggest. And then from that point on, once you get it cleared, definitely find a way, whatever it is. My husband likes oil he'll use oil and just put a sign of the cross over doorways. Definitely doorways and windows. Take your sage around. Say your prayer, whatever you want to say. Call in Archangel Michael and ask him to purify the space and to take out the negative energy and only let light and love in. Say it your way. It's going to be fine. You don't have to have a specific prayer at all. I have ones I make up. They're just as powerful as any of the ones you want to pull out of the Bible because you believe it. That's the bottom line. And then if you have something to yourself, it would be the same principle. I would definitely find someone reputable to to deal with that. Most preachers will pray with you and anoint you. I was not possessed, so I do want to clarify that. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to tell that story at first, that part of the story. I didn't want people to think that. But if you do think that you have attachments to you, something doesn't feel right, I would sometimes feel like someone was watching me and kind of goading me on, if you will, to some of the activities that I was doing. And I know that, and that's no excuse. I'm not saying it takes responsibility from that person at all, because you're still the person responsible. But I am saying that you can feel influenced by, and then what I would call that is oppressed by these spirits if they are with you. And if that's the case, you definitely need to cut those cords from those entities. And the best way to do that is through prayer. Crystals will help if you are okay with that. Lighting white candles. That's why they light candles at church, in the Catholic Church. They light the candle because that is a symbol of that prayer continuing on to heaven. And that's why they leave it lit. If I'm having some nightmares for a couple of nights in a row, I'll put a white candle on my stove so that, it's safe at night, and I'll light it. And with the intention of, while this light is lit, my house is clean and clear and is protected by white light. And that's what I envision, and that's what I expect, and that's what happens. So you have to create your reality, and you have to create those sacred spaces within yourself and within your home at the same time. You have to do both. And it does, you say, well, who's got time to do all that? Well, who's got time to do what I do? I mean, if anybody's got time, I've got time. I make time. You have to make time if it's important. And if you've got something going on, you're going to be making time to do something about it.
Did you ever smell sulfur or anything like that in the house?
Did I ever smell sulfur?
Yes, like sulfur or like rotten egg. Because they say that it was
no, I did not.
Things going on, that's usually a sign as well.
Yes, if there's pungent smells, it can be. Absolutely. I did not smell anything. We had shadows that we would see, dark shadows in a room, like a chair, would spin around, some things like that. But as far as, and actually we did, both of my sons saw, my youngest son is the one that would see most things, but my oldest one saw, with his brother, actually saw this man. It wasn't a man, but it was a demon. But it was outside the house, and I say it wasn't a man because it would appear and then disappear, like right before their eyes. So, and it was what was busting the tires. So and all of it's in the book, and it might make a little more sense in the context in the book, because I know we've had a lot of topics here tonight. But yes, the smell can definitely be a sign of it. Nightmares, waking up with scratches on you or bruises that you don't know where they came from, that stuff happens in the middle of the night. We go places in the night when you're out there. When you're sleeping, there are things that can come through and can happen to you in your sleep. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but when my grandpa would say your prayers before you go to bed, say them. That's what I would suggest. Say your prayers for you, even if it's just 2 sentences. Say it, because it does protect you, and you have to believe that. But if that's happening, that's definitely something that's coming. Even if it's coming through in your dream, it's still there. It's still somewhere near you or your house, and you need to take care of it.
All right. Well, I don't mean to jump back, but when you talk about the floating eyes, are we talking about like eyeballs and what size and color? And, was it just solid color, or can you describe it a little bit more? I'm kind of sitting here thinking.
Okay, you mean like the floating eyeballs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just like one eye would be floating. And this is something my son saw. I did not see the floating eyeball. Yeah, that was not mine, so I can't really describe it in any more detail than that. There were several things that he saw. He was the seer, actually, of the group, and a lot of what I it was eventually my gifts, I guess that you'd say, opened up through that period of time, because he would call me in his room and he'd say, what's all these lights? Why are all these Christmas lights all over my room? And I was like, I didn't even know how to answer that. He would describe them as tiny pinpoints of light, like blue or red or green. And I didn't know. But then after this happened a couple times, I thought, oh my gosh, I remember when I was little, I would look in the night and I would see lights like that. So I started praying, and I started praying, Lord, if that's really something that he's seeing, let me see it too. Let me see what he's seeing. And those gifts started opening up. If you pray and you want something to happen, out of all this, if there's one message I could tell you, if you pray for something and you really want it, you will get an answer. The power of prayer is it is so much more powerful than we ever give it credit for. I mean, even me, and I grew up in church. Okay, and I'm not saying any specific church, any specific religion. I'm saying you personally, whoever's listening, your prayers are powerful. You can literally pray a prayer, a thought. You don't have to sit down and take an hour and read a chapter of your Bible every day and check it off. You can literally just say a prayer, and it's that powerful. It can happen. I mean, it might not happen instantaneously as far as your answer, but it is that powerful that that's all it takes. If you have true intent. As far as the eyeballs, I don't know what they look like, but I know that he was scared. He was very scared. He would sleep with his TV on many times.
Now that your kids are grown, do they have any memory of all this? Do they ever talk about it?
They both do remember it, yes, because they were old enough to remember. My youngest one remembers I'd say about half of it. Like, I'll say something if we're talking about it, if it comes up, and he might say, oh, I kind of remember that, or, I don't remember that at all, or, oh, yeah, I do remember that. So it's kind of a mix of different things. He was, 7 going on 8, and that was, one of those times of my life. I'm trying to think back. Well, I remember some things. Well, of course, I'm a lot older than he is, but he does remember quite a bit of it. I did write it down as it went, and of course the family, they all heard the stories as we were experiencing it. So my oldest one remembers a lot more because he was 12 going on 13, and that's why the issue of poltergeist came up, because I do believe we probably had a poltergeist there too. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but even the lady house cleaner had suggested, because of the fact that my oldest was going through puberty, that hormonal fluctuations in your body will causes your energy to be different, and for some reason they like to mess with the energy of the prepubescent folks. So that's one of the factors that could have come into play. So you may have more than one thing going on in your house. We definitely had something evil there, because it only left when Father actually said the prayer to St. Michael to actually remove the evil. I mean, that's when it left. There was a last splat in the hallway, and it left right through the same portal that it came in. And so that's how we know that it was evil. It wouldn't leave until it was commanded to leave in the name of Jesus Christ.
Were y'all ever able to capture any evidence on audio or video or camera of the events that was happening to you in your home?
I did try to video. I had a camcorder. We didn't have, I don't even think I had a phone that had a camera, but not a phone that had a video on it. But I did have a video camera, and I tried to video the water when it would spray, and we didn't cover that. But there was a half bath in the downstairs that when my oldest son would flush it, it would form, the water in it would form a funnel, and it would hit the ceiling. And it would only do it with him. And I did try to video that. And when I did, I only got a white light would come in the window and block it out, or it would look like a hand went over the screen, or it would black out. It would not. I could stand there and watch it, but I couldn't. Even if I was holding the camera, it would not let me video it. And there wasn't anything wrong with the video camera. I would check it, It was fine. So it wouldn't let me do that. As far as video, that was the only time I really tried the video. And I look back now and I think, well, it'd have been really cool to have gotten some of it. I mean, it would have definitely added to the the hits on YouTube or whatever, which there is a YouTube trailer out there, which, who knows, maybe there'll be a movie. Got somebody looking into that, actually. But, yeah, I mean, I wish now that there would have been more. It would have been nice. But maybe that's part of the mystery of all of this is, why wouldn't it let me? Why was I not supposed to have a video? And then as far as water, why didn't we get the water analyzed? I don't know. I guess when you're sopping it up and you're just trying to get by day to day and trying to figure out what's going on with your marriage and all this stuff was just going on, and it was overwhelming, and I just didn't even think about that. Didn't even cross my mind. Yeah, and it was only a 2-week period. The water itself, from the time I said the prayer to the time it was over, it wasn't more than like 2.5 weeks. So really, it was a relatively short time span when you consider by the time you're running back and forth to work and getting all these people in and out of your house every day, and yeah, so I think that's why.
What is your opinion on people claiming they have psychic abilities? And have you ever worked with anybody claiming they have these abilities? And if so, do they provide any help or does it hurt? Can you kind of elaborate on that? I've been to some places that do offer psychic, I guess you'd say psychic readings. I do believe that there are people who have more intuition and more, everybody's got intuition. Everybody's got that gut feeling, which is what intuition is. Psychic abilities, I don't think everybody has. I think some people are just born with them. They tie together somehow, and I just would be very careful. I would caution people, what do you really want to know? Why do you want to know it? And it's one of those things everybody has to kind of get out there and see for themselves. Don't take everybody's word for it. If you go somewhere and you get a reading, if you really get someone that you trust, I think that's key. If you just are out and say you're traveling and you see a sign up that says psychic or whatever, I would just be careful. If you're going to do that, I would really go. Maybe if you really want to know something, there's nothing wrong with that. I do readings myself. I just think it's something you just have to be careful with, because telling people this is definitely going to happen or that's definitely going to happen, it's not anything that you look at is just going to be a snapshot in time. It's just what's possible right now at this moment. This is what's possible. That doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen because there's so many factors. There's so many people involved, and things change on a daily basis, as we all know. So I would just say be careful, and if you're going to go to somebody who, who at least you have some knowledge of, you think they're pretty reputable, they've been around a while. And a lot of those people are not going to have a huge sign in their yard. They're not going to be the commercial type people. They're going to be ones that you want to talk in the community, find out, and get led to them if they're supposed to be there.
Okay. Well, I have a question.
Because you can pick up things there too. That's why, because you can pick up things there that you don't want. Yeah.
Well, I have a question I always ask all the guests, and have you had any experiences other than paranormal, such as crypto or any UFO encounters? And I know, don't say, oh my God, where the hell did you get that? But you'd be surprised how many people that answer yes to that question.
Did you say, what was the first word? You said crypto?
Yeah, like Bigfoot or
oh, okay.
Or something like that.
Okay. I have, yes. I have not seen Bigfoot. I have. I've not seen Bigfoot. I do know someone who has. I actually interviewed him for my show, Life Speaks. I met him at the Mothman Festival. Very, again, straight up reputable guy. His name's T.J. Owens, and he saw a Bigfoot when he was about 15 years old, and he described it, as far as what a Bigfoot would look like. Only it was a small one. It was like about 5 foot, and it was over the summer. And this was back in the day when everybody didn't have cars. So when he got back to school, he didn't say anything to anybody because he didn't want anybody to think he was crazy. So he gets on the school bus, and all the kids on the school bus that some of them he hadn't seen for the summer, are talking about this thing they saw, and they're all describing the same thing. So then, of course, he told. Since then, he's had many encounters. Myself, before I got married, I was getting ready to move in to my house with he was going to be my husband. We were getting married the next week, and he was supposed to come in, and he got delayed on a flight, and so he had to stay at the house. I was moving in with him at his house. He had to stay over and not come in to help me that evening to get some things packed. So he was going to come the next day, and he had an experience. So I heard something bang on the side of the house. And he went running out, and he'd lived there in this house for 4 years and had never had anything like this happen. And over the pond, and it was a community pond in a subdivision in Columbus, and over the pond was this. He thought it was at first a hologram. He thought a kid was out there playing because it was darting back and forth. It was about 40 feet, he said, from him, and he's an engineer. So I guess he would be able to judge that. I probably wouldn't. It was different colors. It was orbiting. It would disappear, reappear. It would move at a phenomenal way. He said that there's nothing he'd seen move like that. And he videoed this on his phone for 40 minutes. So I told him, I said, of course I wasn't there. I wasn't living there yet. But after I moved in and we got married, and I would ask him, let me know if you see that again. So a couple of times he woke me up in the night because he would be leaving to go catch a flight or something, and he would see it. And he would, so I got this. It wasn't as close. It was never as close as that. But he said that was the same thing that he'd seen, and so I did get to see the light, and it was. I couldn't swear what it was. I just know it was something that looked definitely different. It was not a star. Stars don't move like that. Could it have been like the sound that he heard that night? Could it have been the sound barrier being broken? If it was, it wasn't enough to break the windows. Does the government have the ability to do that? Sure. Being that it's in Columbus and close to what's the location in northern part of Ohio? Cleveland, Cleveland, I believe.
Is it right? Air Force
yeah.
Base?
Well, Patterson, yeah, but I think there's a different Air Force base in Cleveland, isn't there?
If there is, I'm sure there are. I just
okay.
know the
right, but that. Yeah, but at any rate, so I don't know, but I saw something that just wasn't a star or whatever, but I didn't get to see what he had initially seen. So that was that's straight from people, and I, like you said, when you would be surprised when you talk to people and share your story, and that's one thing I've definitely found with many of my stories. When you do that, people will open up because they realize, hey, this person's not going to think I'm crazy. Look what happened to them. So sure, they'll tell you more. And most of the time, I think people are telling you the truth. I mean, there's no reason to make. There's more stuff that's happened that's real. There's no reason to make up stuff. We don't need to make it up because it doesn't.
I agree with you.
Oh yeah.
So, what's your plans for the rest of 2017 and, the upcoming 2018, and what projects and stuff you're working on? And also, since we're running out of time, give your website information or your YouTube information again, and any contacts where people can, if they want to get in contact with you to talk to you and maybe give their thoughts and ask you any questions.
Sure, that'd be great. Yes, I have the Rain No Evil site, and that's rain like water, so it's RAIN, rainnoevil.com. That's very easy to get a hold of me there. There's a link to send me an email. Also, I have, for my writing, I have a writing portfolio page, which is michelezorkel.com. And then I have another website, which is lifespeaks.info. And that is my podcast that I podcast after it's on the air, on the radio. So that's the best ways to get a hold of me. And as far as what I'm doing, I will just continue to do the life coaching, and I'm teaching and kind of venturing out of the teaching, but I'm doing it at the moment and writing and doing the Reiki healing and just helping people to find what works for them to help them through this life. That's what I'm just continuing to do.
And also, don't forget, people, don't forget to buy her book, Rain No Evil. That's right. Can you get it at Amazon and all that good stuff too?
Yes, you can. You can order it from rainnoevil.com, but you can also order it from Amazon, and it is on there as an ebook. So if you want to purchase it and read it on your Kindle or any ebook, you can download it. That's so big right now. I'm one of those people who like that hard copy in my hand still, but yes, and Barnes & Nobles can order it for you too. They can order it in. So it's out there. It's pretty easy to get a hold of, and I'm looking forward to seeing the screenplay form of it. It's in the works, and that will be awesome. It'll be awesome.
That is. That's great.
Yes.
Well, Michele, I thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and experiences you went through, and also your book. You're welcome to come back anytime. My doors are always open. I'm one of those people. I don't live in fear because I will put a come in my house. People, I'm telling you right now, you come in my house. Granted, I don't want nobody to be killing each other, but I will put a cap in your ass. I won't kill you, but I'll make you hurt. But again, I thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been amazing, and your story is just truly awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and you all have a wonderful evening, and definitely say your prayers before you go to bed, right?
That's right.
All right.
Especially,
thank you, Michele, so much.
You're welcome.
Well,
yeah, in Kentucky they call them haints. They call them haints in Kentucky.
Haints,
yeah.
Well, I'm originally from
Birmingham,
Kansas. That's what they call them down there, too. I guess it's too close to Kentucky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, you have a good
right,
night.
well,
Don't let them haints
okay,
get
thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I want to thank Michele for coming on the show. We have nothing but respect for her and the job and that she's doing and informing everyone about her book and her life and her story. I mean, it's truly awesome. I want to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network, to Holly and Ryan for putting up with us, and also that the Vibe Network's going to be hosting a public investigation at St. Albans Sanatorium in Rafford, Virginia. Saturday, I think it's starting at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or something like that. But me, Robin, and Melinda will be there, along with all the other Vibe Radio Network hosts and co-hosts and mascots and so forth. So y'all get a chance, come on out and spend some time with us and shoot the shit. Also, I want to give appreciation and thank you to the Armed Services for their service and their sacrifices, especially on this Veterans Day weekend. Thank you all so much. Our guest for next Thursday night, November 16th, will will be Bill Bean. Boy, that's kind of hard to say. Will be me. It will be me. Bill, if you listen to me, Bill Bean's going to be on the show. Bill is a spiritual warrior. Lord, I need all the spiritual help I can get. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like your page if you don't mind. You can see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, and you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Within the Chaos. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night.
Night, y'all.
No, your turn.
Have a good one.
Y'all kind of do that together. Y'all gonna have to do this timing thing a little bit better. But y'all have a good one. You're working on it. Well, y'all have a good one. See y'all later. Let me kick us out with something. What do y'all want to listen to? I know what I like to play, but I don't have it on here yet. Let's go with Witch Doctor. No, that's already. Well, we've done that to death. Let's go with Jerry Sawyer. All right.
If the group don't get you, the rival's gonna. I'm serious as cancer when I say rhythm is